And the boys are back. It feels like it's been forever since you and I have had the pleasure of seeing our ugly mugs. But welcome back to the warm down pool, Dan.
Great to be here. What's happening, everybody? Yeah, we got a lot to talk about, though. Wild world of swimming is alive and well.
Yeah, they keep calling it swimflation. I just call it Armageddon right now. Oh my gosh, the men for years were like, "Oh hey, this is our." We're going to break the world records, and the women are like, hold our beer. It's our turn now. Obviously, a lot of craziness going on in the world of swimming since the last time you and I spoke. We got a lot to talk about. We got American records, we got world records, we got recruiting stuff going on as June 15th has passed, and so now it's the chaos that is the class of 2028 getting recruited, and I'm knee deep into that with my job. And then we'll talk about the enhanced games and what that's all about and everything, because we can't get away from that crap.
Everybody's favorite topic.
Man, I'm ready for it to be over, but you know it's not going away. It's like that chronic dandruff. You're just never getting rid of it. So,
now, according to my algorithm on my Instagram and all that, is definitely not going away.
Good grief, no. Well, let's start. World record Wahoos. Let's do the women's 50 freestyle. After years of holding up, I think it was 2017 is when Sarah Schleistrom set the world record. Kate Douglass at the Tier Pro Series in Indianapolis dropped an incredible 23:59 to break the world record. Right next to her training partner Gretchen Walsh. And then Gretchen didn't even show up for the last day of the Tier Pro Series because she had to jump a flight to get to Italy because she had a world record to set in the 50 freestyle and dropped a 23:55. Was it 2 days ago? Yesterday? It's all blurring at this point for me. But now is the current women's world record holder and did it in the same pool, same time, as the former world record holder, Sarah Schleistrom, who's making her return to swimming after the birth of her child. And in the same pool, lost in all of this, another Wahoo, Sarah Curtis of Italian National, 24:01, something bonkers like that. So one of the fastest 50 freestyle heats in the history of women's sports, and in our sport in particular. Man, Dan, what's going on? What's happening here?
I'm excited to watch the University of Virginia race the world
yes, bathtub swimmers. That's all they are, bathtub swimmers, Dan.
I think they're a little more than that.
I know that.
It's super exciting to watch, super exciting to see. I think, we just really have to appreciate what is going on because it's very easy in this world of social media and information overload to be like, oh, another world record. What do you know? Another world record. It's remarkable to me that they're all coming out of pretty much the same place. I still can't believe that Kate Douglass is the best 200 breaststroker in the world. And oh, by the way, has the 50 free world record for 9 days, I believe.
9 days.
It was.
Yep.
But it's just.
I think I saw
those races
somewhere
are so incredible to watch.
Yeah.
I have a lot of fun kind of breaking it, slowing them down and breaking them down and really checking out what's going on, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later.
Right, and I think one of the things that is we're starting to see from Gretchen, the number one criticism of her outside of bathtub swimmer. God, I hate that. I'm so over that one. It was always her start, her reaction time. But I think what you have seen most recently is there's been a massive improvement on that. She's able to get off the blocks better, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist. That's not who I am. I'm not a flat earther. I don't believe in the all the stuff that's out there. But one of the things I think we can kind of draw a little bit of a parallel that may have helped her with that. Who spent some time in Charlottesville training with her and Alex and that crew? Well, that'd be Caleb Dressel. So what is Caleb Dressel known for? Probably outside of just being a great human being, but his explosiveness off the start, his reaction time, his drive. So I'm not saying that Caleb was coaching her, but I can't help it. He probably gave some pointers and little things, and may have seen some things that Todd and the staff there at Virginia hadn't seen. And as a result, I think we've seen some improvement off of her. I think Kate has looked good off the blocks. And we'll talk about another who here in Cavalier in just a second, and in Moesch. I think we're seeing some huge developments coming out of that program from a sprint perspective. But I think those are the little things that she needed, and not being in a college setting gives her a little more freedom to work on those things without having NCAA restrictions hanging over her head and not having classes to worry about. I think I think Gretchen has done an incredible job of making that transition to long course meters, which is something that we were all hoping for. Let's not forget, she scared the world record in the 50 fly a couple days before that, and she finished fourth in an amazing 100 freestyle, which saw the world record broken by Marrit Steenbergen, who almost broke it before, and she finished fourth in that heat. Out of all those, and she went 52.7, I believe.
Right.
So we're seeing an evolution in women's sprinting that has been long overdue. I believe that fully. I think Gretchen is starting to come into her own, and for all of these women, it's 2028 to me can't get here soon enough. I think with Pan Pac, I saw a comment somebody made. It was a tweet. Somebody said, "Gretchen Walsh breaking Kate Douglas's world record after 9 days," and somebody responded with, "Gretchen's really sending a message to Kate that she should stay in the 200 IM." So, which. I mean, unfortunately, the schedule just doesn't allow her to do the 50 and the 200 IM, so we'll see where she chooses down the line. But yeah, it's amazing watching all of these records. I mean, we saw Steenberg break the 100 freestyle record, and then you've got American records in London, Anna Moesch, 51.98, incredible swim. And then turns around and goes like 52.0 at the same Pro Series against Kate Douglas, who everybody thought Kate was going to break that world record. And then Mathias, the Pro Series, breaking both the 50 and the 100 breaststroke American records, coming dangerously close to being the first American under 58 in the 100 breaststroke. And again, I think we agree when it comes to the medley relay for 2028, we're going to need that 57 in a major way with what's out there on the horizon for us. We need a backstroker too, which Ryan Murphy made his triumphant return, and I think it's starting to look good and come into his own there. But man, it's a crazy time for the sprints. I think with the addition of the 50s and stroke in the Olympic calendar, the Olympic schedule, it's motivated some people to be a little more creative with how they're training. And you brought it up in our lineup. Why are records being broken so seemingly at non-peak times in the calendar? So, man, give me your theory on this, because I got my thoughts.
It's so cool. I had the pleasure to work with Gretchen on the national junior team, and I had the pleasure to coach against her in high school in Tennessee before she went on to Virginia when she was and her sister Alex were in Nashville. And it's really awesome to watch the evolution, because her start even in high school was not, and at the junior level was nothing special. Her underwaters were, but the actual physically getting off the block, I noticed a difference in her world record swim, a lot cleaner entry, and she is maximizing that. One of the coolest things that I've seen in the sport is that people are really maximizing that 15-meter line in the long course pool. I mean, really pushing. I mean, she pushed it about as close as you could get. Yeah. Some would say maybe a little too much. I wouldn't be one of those, but I've seen that. I've seen that raised.
Yep.
It's you're allowed to, they give you 15. You might as well if you're fast at it. If Mr. Stopwatch says you're faster traveling underwater than you are swimming, you might as well use all of it.
Agreed.
I really think it's so exciting the way the sport is evolving, and the amount of information that is available for athletes now. I mean, with video, both in training and in competition, I mean, you can really break stuff down, and it's not like you got to train harder to go faster.
Right.
You got to pay attention to detail more, and it's crystal clear to me that that's what's going on. Both Kate and Gretchen, I mean, their finishes were just spot on. I mean, Gretchen was so connected up that last 15 meters, and she has a tremendous wingspan, and she maximized that on her finish. No jam in the wall, no. I mean, she really maximized that. I'd love to see a still of where Kate would have been physically in the water relative to Gretchen, side by side when they both went to 23.5s. But Gretchen just hitting that long stroke, not perfectly, but pretty darn good. Yeah. That I think made a huge difference. So I think it's it's going to be tougher to set world records in the 400 IM or a 200 fly or something kind of all time. Although we are still seeing tremendous progress throughout the world. in those events, not peak time. But in the sprints, it's not a matter of trying harder. It's a matter of executing better and understanding. And I really think it's understanding what's important, understanding what you're trying to execute. Everybody's got video review. I did a town hall on SwimSwam that was pretty cool. Dr. O and him just walking through all the biometric training that they're doing, the all the metrics that they are applying to what they do. I think in the sprints, literally every inch is getting broken down in the race, as opposed to well, this was okay, maybe you could do a little better. No, this is what you need. This 4 feet chunk needs to be better, and here's how you're going to get better. I have a feeling that's what's going on, but it is exciting to see, and there's no question that the opportunity of the 50 in the strokes, etc., being added to the Olympic platform has because a 50 is different than 100, especially in the long pool. It's a completely different race, and so I think people are putting more emphasis on those 50s and that precise execution.
I would agree with you, and I think we're both old enough to remember like the old school days of recording an athlete was the shoulder-mounted VHS camera, and if you wanted to review that frame by frame, you literally had to go to a television station so that they had the technology to do that, because you couldn't do it before. Now you can do that on your phone. And it's going to be in a higher definition. It's not going to be blurry. I think the underwater technology that is available out there for coaches to be able to review things is becoming, it's a little bit cheaper, a little more portable, a little less cumbersome. So now you're getting an opportunity for these athletes to break down their swims, as you mentioned, inch by inch. I mean, I think I'd heard Cam McAvoy talking on a podcast. They analyzed his 5, 10, 15, 20, 25... Yes. Every 5 meters, there's an analysis block set up for him. And again, we've talked about it. He's in a small training group. I think there's maybe 6 of them, and there's like 7 coaches. So, I mean, but he's a professional. That's what you need. And you need that for a sport. Swimming is finally, and I will stand on a stack of Bibles and swear to this. Swimming is getting to where track and field was 30 years ago. Track and field with the technology and the training mentality and the training model, especially along the sprint lines, was in this mentality in the 1990s. It was less about volume. It was more about power, explosiveness, fine-tuning, refinement. And we always talk about non-peak times in the calendar. But let's be very honest on something. Even at the Olympic Games or the World Championships or Pan Pacs, Senior Nationals, yeah, you're peaking, but are you going PRs every time you hit the water? No, you're not. I mean, Dressel won multiple gold medals in 2021. He didn't break world records every time he hit the water. Is he going to turn those gold medals in? No, he's not. I wouldn't either. I think we have to get away from this paradigm, this mindset, to steal Bill Boomer. Got to get into the right paradigm. But it really, we've got to get out of the mentality of peaking is for once or twice a year. Peaking is for racing and maximizing your opportunities. And is it possible that in a couple of weeks, I think Pan Pacs is in 2 or 3 weeks, it's coming up here very soon. Is it possible at that point where Kate and Gretchen swim the 50 freestyle and they both go 23.9? Very possible. It's distinctly possible. But that's what track and field 100 and 200 meter runners have been doing that for 30, 40 years. It is not, we are not dependent now on building up a yardage base or aerobic and doing all this and then tapering down to peak for one chance. These are principles that Salo preached about even back in the 80s, and it's starting to really come more to fruition these days. I think coaches are getting more creative with their training. You and I have talked about that already on the show. We've talked about it at length, and as I'm getting my training plans ready for this fall, you and I are going to talk even more about it because I've got some ideas and I'm going to throw them off of you. But I think the mentality of peaking at the end of a season or at a mid-season meet it's going away. I mean, obviously those are still our focal points. Those are where we want to swim our fastest, but I think right now with the training models that people are starting to put together and the ideas that are being thrown out there and how more efficient people are getting in their respective training, camps. I think UVA is a great example of that. I think to a certain extent Cal is an example of that, especially with their guys. Reports were coming out for Jack Alexi, I think it was right before the World Champs, or it was NCAA's. He was only in the water 3 days a week, but he was lifting 5. So his 50 and 100 were great. His 200, they got what they needed out of him for that relay. I'll just say that. It was definitely not, but I mean, we're talking about incredibly talented people, but these are principles that Sam Freeze, rest in peace, for all of Sam's faults, and he had his fair share, Sam was another one of these guys that was all about speed, all about racing. His books are written in such a way that, I mean, he didn't use a pace clock. He didn't use it at all. I just pulled Sprinting 2, It Takes Guts, his book, out recently just to go through it again, just to remind myself of where Sam's mentality was when it came to what he considered the art of sprinting. So I think that's why you're seeing it from these athletes, and it's something that's going to be very hard for a lot of coaches, especially the older ones. I kind of fall into that category of changing their mindset of when it comes to training their athletes. That you don't need this insane yardage base for any of your athletes. Now, open water, different animal. I'm not gonna argue on that one. I've even heard reports coming out of the Gainesville camp that Ledecky isn't doing nearly the volume that she was at one point in her career. But she's being more efficient with it. I guarantee you that. She's probably pushing at race speed as much as she can. I'd be willing to bet McIntosh is in that same situation. Hers may be a little different because you've got a lot more strokes and she's trying to do more events. But Titmus wasn't doing 10,000 yard or 10,000 meter workouts down in Australia. Dean had her being incredibly efficient with how she was training. So, yeah, I think, man, swimming is broken, but it's broken in the best way possible, man. We're breaking all the norms, and we're seeing huge growth. And I'd say the next 2 years, I think once we get the 200s of stroke and 200 freestyle up to that kind of mentality, I think you're gonna see some crazy swims.
And also having that kind of understanding that, maybe to be amazing at the 50, you really can't try and stretch it to a 200.
Right.
That you got to give that training away so that you can really be amazing at the 50.
Yep.
I also, I just think it's pretty crystal clear to me that there's, people are just understanding as we get more, as technology improves, which provides us with more information, we figure out what's really important and what's not so important relative to training. And, you don't waste a whole lot of time on stuff that really isn't that important for the ultimate goal of swimming fast. People were always very surprised when they talked to me. I was fortunate to coach a number of really good boy middle distance and distance swimmers kind of through the junior, the high schoolish kind of ranks. And people were always kind of surprised at that how little I cared about how much we swam, and that there were days where we swam a lot, but it was a nice long jog, and it was all technique based. And then there were other days where we, relative what you would think, the stereotype, we didn't swim very much, but it was, Mr. Stopwatch was out and he was watching, we wanted it to be real fast. And that was able to really carry over. I was blessed. I mean, I always thought that it took me about a year to figure this out, but I was like, wow, I'm so glad that, I coached high school for 18 years, very high level, very successful at it. But year one was a little hit and miss because I was coming more from a college club, middle distance to distance background. But the value of those sprint relays and the importance of the sprint medley and the sprint free relative to team performance in a high school competition helped me so much because I made sure that all my best kids could do those short races. And what do you know? It just made it easier for them. They had more easy speed to get out on their longer stuff. It was, and it started to put more kind of things that were in the equation for success that I would see and be like, oh, well, if they can hit this, if I want them to do this 500 time or whatever, they got to be able to hit this 50 metric as well. Mm-hmm. it was really cool. So that's, I could talk about that all day.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
but this has been just a tremendously exciting month. Indiana breaststroke strikes again, right? I mean,
and Van Mathias
yeah,
has
on
pretty
fire.
much he's pretty much adopted what McAvoy's doing. I mean, and it's documented. He doesn't have to do the 200 breaststroke anymore, so he's not going to.
Right, yeah.
And I've heard both sides of it on McAvoy in his training. We'll get into Van here in a second, but he's focused solely on the 50 now, not even the 100. I think he may be doing 100 just for the heck of it, but people forget he was a 145 long course 200 freestyler.
Yeah.
So he does have that base, and people make the argument, oh, he's already done all the meters. He can focus now. Okay, just because you've done it doesn't mean that it's that necessarily the same. It's not the same energy system. It's not the same training mentality. I think that
Different time, different goal.
exactly. And I think he's specializing, and Van's doing the same thing. It's like, I'm focusing on the 50 breast and the 100 breast. I don't need anything else. And from what I can gather, and I've had a couple coaches in Indiana that I'm friends with, I've asked them about it because they've been around the program. He's not training long course every single day. He's still in a short course pool. I mean, when they are doing long course, then yeah, he's working on stroke counts. He's working on his tempo. He's working to hit his metrics, I'm guessing, down the pool. But 1,500 yards, 1,500 meters, that's what he's putting in. I mean, and then he turns around and shatters both records. And I do say shatters because you look where his best times were going into this training model and now. And I've seen coaches look at what he's doing and they can't wrap their brain around it. And I'm kind of in that group. Like, I get it. Like, I'm watching, I'm like, it works. We've seen the results. We're seeing the time put in, but it's like, how do we make that work for us? I think that's where coaches are struggling. How do we make this work for us? And how do we apply this on I'll call it smaller scale? Because Indiana, you have the resources, the pro group, the university, 50-meter pool, elite level coaching with Ray Luce and his crew.
Their unique pulley system, which is, yes. I think, second to none.
Agreed. The only other place I've seen it set up that way was UNLV. Jim Reitz, who's the old head coach there, back when he used to put 8 out of 8 guys in the finals of the Mountain West Conference 50 Freestyle Championship. They had a very similar system there. But yeah, he's got all that resources. How do we apply that on a smaller scale? How do we apply that at a Division III school or a mid-major D1 women's program or a D2 school in the Southwest? That's where coaches are struggling.
And I think it's like anything else, because Lord knows, compared to what I did in the late 80s, early 90s, training wise, I'll see old swimmers of mine and they'll ask me if I do any of that stuff anymore. I'm like, no.
Yep.
In a word, no. I don't do it. Not and it produced very good results back in the day, but fast is a relative thing, and it seems like I just think through the internet and everything, it's the information is out there to figure out what's really important.
Agreed. And I think
I've been listening to a ton of podcasts relative to strength, and it makes so much sense to me. I've been guinea pigging it on myself, and at 61, I'm stronger than I've ever been in my life. Using myself as like, well, this makes total sense for swimming as well. It's a very, there seems to me to be a lot of carry. So the good thing for coaches out there is, it's a new, there's the ever evolving challenge. It's an ever evolving challenge, and that makes it exciting for me.
100%. And you look at somebody like Anna Moesch, who was a top-level high school recruit coming out, but she's really become the new breakout star of that Cavalier group. Her and Sarah Curtis are going to walk into NCAAs next year. That 100 freestyle at NCAAs is going to be a battle of Virginia. It really is. I think I'm going to put an asterisk next to you brought up strength training and how the evolution in that and how that is just kind of, I'm going to put an asterisk next to that. And I'm not saying it's not important, because I firmly believe it is. We've had that conversation. You told me with your time at Penn State, you told the strength coach, I want these guys to jump through the ceiling. And I'm doing the exact, I told my strength coach the exact same thing here at LFC. But the one thing I will caution, because there is so much information that's out there, be careful who you're listening to.
Yes.
Because I saw something on Instagram. I kind of got in the comment section on this. I'm not afraid to tussle it up a little bit. So I had my certified strength and conditioning specialist. I passed the test. I did the coursework. I did my CEs. I've stayed up with it. I am in no way, means, or shape or form the guy you want putting together a strength plan. I did it because I had an opportunity to learn. Fundamentally, it gave me a better understanding of the biomechanics of strength training and how I could apply it. Plus, I needed it in case I was ever in a situation where I didn't have a strength coach, which happened for 15 years. Pretty much I saw somebody go, if your swim coach says that you don't have to listen to me, then, because I know more than he does. And I made the comment, I go, well, what if your coach is a CSCS? And he goes, well, just because you have it doesn't mean you're an expert. And I go, you literally just answered your own question for me. Just because you're a guy who says he knows something about swimming and strength and conditioning doesn't mean you know exactly what we're doing in our program. So I would caution people that when they're looking stuff online, when they're looking up information on social media, be very mindful of part of the reason why some coaches are pushing back against these online fitness guys or these online strength coaches is those coaches aren't in the trenches with you as a coach and with your athlete on a day-to-day basis. And I didn't go too deep into the comment section. I kind of stepped away from it. I'm like, I can't do it. But I know with my strength coach, he's a football guy by heart. That's his background. But he's done all the certifications. He's sat down and he's learned the sport of swimming. So he's asked me questions about, okay, what are some things that we need to look at? What are some things that are important to you? So I have a meeting in 2 weeks with him to kind of talk about what our strength plan is going to be. And I've already given him the calendar of when our big major meets are. And so he can make sure we're unloading when we need to. But I think that's also important that people need to put an asterisk next to it. Hey, the material you may be getting is great. How do you incorporate that in with what your coaches are putting in with their training? Because you never know. A strength coach say, oh, you should be doing a max lift this week. Okay, well, you're in the middle of your championship season. It doesn't apply. So I think people just need to be a little careful on that when you're researching and going out for information. There's a lot of fitness grifters out there. I'm not saying that this individual was, by no stretch of the imagination, but there's a lot of fitness gurus and online influencers out there they're on the grift. They're just trying to make a buck. So yeah, I would say we got to be careful on that. But I do think you're going to start
being careful and strength. The enhanced games.
Why are we still giving these guys a platform? Oh my God!
Transition.
A great transition. That was a 5-hour infomercial for some supplements because there was nothing enhanced about it. Okay, yeah, they were taking whatever was supplemented there, and I know they're on damage control right now, and nothing showed that more than how their stock prices went. I'm not going to be critical of any of the coaches that were involved in that. They made their decision. I'm not going to be critical of the athletes that are involved. There was an incredible opportunity for them to make some money. Okay? Money was put on the table. Is there scrutiny that's going to come with that? 100%. They are never, those individuals that compete in that are never going to be looked at the same way again, whether they were clean or not. And I think there was a report coming out, Hunter Armstrong got tested immediately by WADA. The moment that was over, I think USADA was in on the game as well. One world record was broken by a supersuited individual by 100th of a second who was taking whatever was and you got your $1 million. Good for you. But you'll never be able to replicate that and have a valid world record ever again. And the fact that Cam McAvoy in a jammer tech suit, okay, is only 100th of a second behind that world record. I put that in air quotes for the people that are listening and not watching a video of this. Tells me all I need to know about where training really needs to be. Most of the names that we saw out there, in swimming there were a lot more famous names. I'll say that. Obviously in the strongman portion, the deadlift competition, Mitchell Hooper, World's Strongest Man, Hafthor Bjornsson, the Mountain from Game of Thrones, but he's also a former World's Strongest Man winner himself. I do know that Eddie and Thor have a huge history with one another. Eddie just ripped it to shreds. But then Eddie went out and boxed Tommy Fury, so I don't know who to take serious anymore. But in the track and field competition, I mean, the women were nowhere near what was being competed on. And they're the ones, and the clean athletes won. Fred Curley, and I can't remember the young lady's name who won. Yeah, Enhanced Game was an infomercial. I watched all of it. I'm an idiot. I had nothing else better to do with my life, clearly. But it was an infomercial for some supplements. That's all it really was. It was Peter Thiel's grift, and I said it. I said it out loud.
For the swimming component, I'm of the mindset of more power to you.
If you get the money, take it.
Yeah, yes, because you ain't getting that in any other swim meet around. I think Hunter Armstrong actually kind of played it the best way,
Yeah.
able to make money. And I always felt that racing and competing in a super suit really, it changed the way you swam. Like, I think people should practice in those all the time because it changes the way you swim for the better.
Mm-hmm.
I started noticing it when they became a thing, and we'd go to a 3-day trial and final meet. We'd usually give the kids off Monday, and they'd come in Tuesday. And normally you'd expect that practice to be a little rough, right?
Yeah.
And they look great. And it's because they had basically a 3-day training camp of enhanced body position swimming.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So they're probably going to figure some stuff out that way. But
yep.
But as far as the rest of it, come on, man. Come on. And it's going to be interesting what happens because I pay a little bit of attention to how the stock's doing, and Lord knows my algorithm. You see those supplement ads nonstop.
So. Oh my God, I had to clear the cache on all my browsers just to get rid of all that stuff and clear out all the cookies. My goodness. I love the fact that they got paid because we've always said that the biggest problem the biggest problem with sport on a professional level is we've found no consistent way to monetize it for our athletes so that Hunter Armstrong said, I can't pay for training. I've got and working a full-time job and getting training. Who was it? Nick Fink was doing that. And it was, thank God he was able to do that for the U.S. from an Olympic level. But man, it's really... I appreciate what did Hunter make? $375,000, something bonkers like that. And then obviously Christian got $1 million for breaking the quote unquote world record. Good for them. Make your money, but don't sit up there and tell me it was for any other reason other than that. At least Hunter was honest about it.
Yes,
Hunter was honest about it.
Completely respect. Yeah,
I'm all for it. And somebody made the comment, Hunter got X number of dollars to not even come near his former world record in the 50 backstroke. And Kate Douglas got $7,000 for breaking the longest standing women's world record. And that's where the disparity is. I still think there needs to be a way for our athletes in our sport to, at that high level, do what they do. Make sure that they're not having to put financial strain on themselves or their families, because a lot of these kids are taking out loans from family members to maintain their training. They're having to get crazy sponsorship deals. The Walsh sisters have their own swimsuit line. They started that. They had the benefits of NIL. I think that's something that's going to help, at least at the college level. But there's got to be a way. I know we all hoped that the ISL was going to be that for us. I think having a Ukrainian oligarch as your lead financier, probably not the best way to go. And I know people have talked about the return of the ISL through the College Swim League and Kyle Sockwell and his efforts to advance that. But I think that outside of the money side of it for these guys, I think Hunter is probably one of the only ones that we're going to see continue on and try to go towards 2028. I don't think that Cody will, which is his choice if he wants to. Go for it. I don't know if we're going to have another incarnation of the enhanced games. I think they indicated
I will tell on that one, and it'll be interesting.
I know. The only thing that out of the enhanced games I would like, besides the money, I would like to see come out and be in the world of swimming. And controversial opinion, this is my hot take. Here we go. Skelly says bring back those suits. Bring them back. Let's do it. Put Cam McAvoy in one of those bad boys. Let's see what happens. 20.44 in the 50 freestyle. Here we come.
Records will be smashed.
I would. Gretchen Walsh goes 53-1 100 fly. Could you imagine her not dying at the end of a 100 fly with her takeout speed?
Exactly.
I think, okay, this is my shot. Get this message to Todd DeSorbo. Get her in one of those suits and just do it in a Virginia practice. Let's just see what happens. That would be amazing. Set up the timing system and let's roll with it. Summer McIntosh goes 4:19, long course 400 IM. My
Right.
goodness, it'd be amazing. Bring back the suits. I'm probably one of the few people that when we did have the super suits back in 08, 09, 07, that range, I was all about them. Now, at this point, they're probably $1,000 a piece, and there's no way my budget will ever take that from a coaching standpoint. But let them do it at the pro level. We can keep them banned here in the NCAA. I'm cool with that.
Hey, I was one at the very beginning. I'm like, okay, you know, I literally had this little talk with myself as a coach. I'm like, okay, these things are cheating, but if everybody's doing it, I guess the rules say you could. There's nothing that says you can't.
Yep.
Then
I will
I'm going to push it. So I was throwing kids in double suits and like, let's go.
I will never. So the old. And maybe you can remind me on this. I know we're breaking off the enhanced games a little bit, but if I remember correctly,
okay. We can break off that.
Oh yeah, it's our show. We can do whatever we want. If I remember correctly, the Aqua Blade, the laser. That's what it was. It was the laser. The Speedo's version of it, which was more panels, was more about compression points, and the Blue 70 was about buoyancy.
Yes.
So yeah, you had people wearing the laser underneath a Blue 70, and it was like.
Guilty as charged. That was
Georgia did that.
If people could had the means to get both.
Yep.
I was like, do it.
I heard that from a Speedo rep that Jack down at Georgia. That was the rumor that he was ordering lasers and then he was ordering Blue 70s.
Yeah,
and
we I might have had that conversation with him.
Might have
many times. Back in the day.
But that was the problem.
Back then it was the new Wild Wild West. Oh
my God!
A new one comes up every 8 to 10 years where you got to figure it out.
Well, track and field seeing it right now with the spikes that they have. They have these carbon fiber soles that these sprinters, especially the high school and college level, we're seeing sub 10-minute 100-meter dashes from kids that weren't ever doing it before. So we talk about swimflation. Track's going through their own supersuit era, and I've had conversations with track coaches about that. And I said, welcome to 2008 for me. You guys are going through what I went through in 2008. And I don't know that there's been conversations of them banning those. I think track is leaning into it more. The only thing that they're doing is, and you've seen it, it's happened a few times in the multi-events, the guys who are the long jumpers are jumping in sprinter spikes. And because of the way but those are not permitted. So they're having to monitor that. I've heard of disqualifications happening in women's hep and men's decathlon. So, track is going through their wild, wild west right now, just like we did. So, my closing thoughts on the enhanced games, that was a carnival. That was a carny ride. And you know what? Some people got paid. Good for them. Hunter Armstrong, if it means he can continue training towards the 2028 Olympics, and he wasn't juicing, and WADA has cleared him and USADA has cleared him. He's going to be under a microscope the remainder of his career. If he ever does break a world record or is on any world record relay, people are going to look at it a little side-eyed, unfortunately. But
to his credit, he was brutally honest from the beginning about it. So
yeah, 100%.
What his plan was.
And we've obviously seen people on both sides of that line. I'm against it. Truthfully, I don't think we know the long-term impact of those performance-enhancing drugs can be on those individuals. So I hope there are none. But despite what the coach of the enhanced games, he who shall be nameless in this situation, said, I don't think we really know, and we won't know for several years what the ultimate impact was on those individuals. So
yeah, I saw the trailer for the E60 that they're doing. An E60 and it was interesting. It was interesting.
I'll end up watching that because
car crash.
Yeah, that's the thing. I love me a good dumpster fire. I'll watch it. I know. I told myself I wasn't going to watch the enhanced games, and sure enough, I put it up on my iPad while I was doing other work. And yeah, but last thing we can kind of go over.
Talk a little recruiting.
Let's talk a little recruiting. Let's talk about the chaos that is the June 15th deadline, and I call it a deadline because that's when the race starts for a lot of people. The class of 2028 for Division I, and I want to preface this by saying this is a Division I deadline, June 15th, before the start of their junior year. So rising juniors, as they're called now, which I don't. Do you remember back in the day when you finished your sophomore year, you were a junior, whether it was like the day before classes started or the day after it ended your. Now they're rising this, rising that. Okay, I'm okay. Boomer, Skelly, just get over it. It is coming past, and I'm part of a lot of different recruiting Facebook groups. I moderate one where I talk about and answer questions for parents on recruiting. I want to say this. You mentioned it earlier. Like, people were getting those tech suits and you were against them, but if you didn't have it, you were going into a gunfight holding a stick. I hate that I'm talking to rising juniors right now on the recruiting side. I've had multiple conversations with 2028 kids, and I'm Division III. And I can talk to them when they're freshmen if I want, but that's the deadline. That's when they're expecting phone calls. And these parents are like, my kid didn't get any calls on June 15th. That doesn't mean recruiting's over. My experience this summer, I'm talking to a lot of 27s, a lot of 28s. I think this process it's an ultra marathon. It's not even a sprint for me. I'm not going to get my commitments in the next month and a half. And I know the Power Fours will. I will never forget having that conversation with, God, I can't remember what else. I was at a World Clinic. And it was after, and I asked the guys, when will you start getting commitments? He said, I've already got 7 for my women's class and 9 for my men. We'll be done with recruiting for the class of 28 for the most part. Now, this is pre-transfer portal. So this is before the portal became a major recruiting component. We'll be done by November 1. My head almost exploded on that one. I would kill for that. November 1 of their junior years. But they're already looking ahead to the class of 29 and what that's going to be. And we both know the men's are class of 29, or who are freshmen right now, or even the 28s. They're not mature yet, physically. Emotionally and mentally, they're not going to be mature for quite some time. We know that, too, from coaching college. I'm not saying that I'm 51. I've got one of the worst cases of arrested development you'll ever come across in your life. But I think right now, there's so much pressure on these young individuals to have to take these phone calls, hearing things like pre-reads or early decision dates. Schools are putting pressure on that one. It's not even athletics with early decision. My school I'll say this, we do have early decision, but it's not like a drop dead date. Like when my son was looking at Boston University, we'll need a commitment if he's coming here by October 1 if he's admitted. Well, we haven't gotten the FAFSA. And they looked at me like I spoke some foreign language. You mean you need to see how much it would cost you to come to Boston University? Not Boston College, Boston U. Before you make that decision? Yeah.
Yes.
So I think right now, talking with these athletes, again, I'm talking to rising seniors, I'm talking to rising juniors. These young men and women, they're under incredible pressure when they should just be enjoying their summer. I think parents, if you're listening, I've had probably about 40 kids. I just sent out one email. Just, hey, how are you? This is Coach Skelly, Lake Forest College. Love to talk with you. When you have a minute, no pressure. I mean, it's very chill. I've had almost 225 kids reach out to us via email. No texts, nothing else. Love to talk with you, Coach. But I probably had about 60. Hey, this is really early. I'm not looking right now. Can you get with me later? Those are the kids I'm probably got the best chance with.
Right, yes. Yeah.
I really do. So yeah, I think there's an inherent amount of pressure, not just in our sport, every sport. And with the changing face of college athletics, I think one thing I will always tell every recruit, and I have a recruiting seminar I'm doing in the Chicagoland area in August. I'll have more details on a later podcast for anybody listening who wants to come to that on how they can do so. I think it is incredibly important for all of the parents to do the research, but let your children find their path.
Yes.
What I have discovered is that moms and dads are the ones setting up their swim cloud accounts or their NCSA accounts. They're the ones making connection with ACC recruits. And they're the ones doing all the legwork, which you can help. I would have done that for my children, but I think the kids are the ones who have got to talk to them. The coaches should talk to the parents at some point. And if they don't, that's a red flag.
It was really refreshing today. I work from time to time with kids on placement and all that are just kind of helping them navigate the waters. You know,
hook me up, bro. Hook me up.
I've been on both sides of the phone call, you know?
Yes.
It was refreshing today in that through kind of a family friend that we got set up. But my call, it was the first call and it was great. And we really got a lot done. It was with the prospective student athlete, 16-year-old kid who, no mom, no dad, provided him, this is what we need to, here are the points that we're going to talk about. So come prepared for this, blah, blah, blah. And that's so important for them to them. I like the way you put it, to let them find their path.
Yes.
And it's also, Imagine the change, everybody just look back in your life, the change from the summer before your junior year in high school to when you graduated. Oftentimes you're a completely different person.
Not even close to who I was. Yeah.
Right. So what I tell the kids all the time is like, when you go through your initial things, if you're not quite sure what you want to study, that's okay.
Yes.
You're not even a junior. Start your junior year in high school.
Yes.
You don't have to know
Thank you.
you're exactly what you want to do. Because guess what? Things might change. It's okay. I find that letting the kids hear that it's okay.
Yes.
It's all okay. Gets that anxiety level down and allows them a better opportunity to have a positive experience. Trying to, it's so foreign because like, well, why wouldn't I take all my trips? I'm like, well, you don't need to take all your trips if they're not needed. If
Yes.
you know that you're really not going to go, because guess what? You go to 5 schools on 5 weekends in a row, you're going to get sick. That's for one. You're just going because
Agreed.
really don't, sleep is not optimal on recruiting trips
No.
for any number of reasons. And I was like, well, do you want to be miserable? That playing catch up the rest of the year?
Yes.
Because you're going to fall behind in school. You're going to fall behind in training, blah, blah. Just getting to think about, spacing their trips out. And I know that certain school, it's this is when you can come. This is what we got for you. So it's a challenge, but the better the kids can put that puzzle together, the better experience they're going to have. And ultimately a better decision for them is probably, hopefully, the fruit of that investment.
I had a conversation earlier today with a recruit, 2028. Great call. Talked to him about our school, talked about our training program and our schedule. So that's my standard call. Right now my calls are 15, 20 minutes. That's it. First of all, this generation's attention span is shorter than ours as Gen Xers. They used to say we were the microwave society. This is the Snapchat society. Trust me, they've got even a shorter window than we do. But he was like, well, the kid's like, I don't know what I want to major in. I said, you don't have to. I said, I wish more kids would go in undecided. I really do. You can have an idea. And I tell the story of my own 2 children. My oldest son knew he was going to be a journalism major when he was in 8th grade. Just knew. That's what he wanted.
Right.
And he is in journalism. He's in broadcast journalism now. My youngest son went to college, a business major. After first semester of Principles of Accounting 1 and macroeconomics, said, I don't want to do this anymore. Right. This is awful. And now he is a communications and media major with a concentration in sports information. So he's going to work in sports. I do find it ironic the kid who didn't do much in the way of sports is now going to be reporting on it. But, hey, we find our own paths. But I wish he had gone in. Yeah. Exactly. I wish he had gone in undecided. I wish he had an opportunity to kind of sample and he found his path, but he had to it was a little rocky getting there. So to anybody, even in the class of 27s or even the 26s who are in a couple months going to be stepping foot on a campus, undecided is a good path. I mean, I was criminal justice with a minors in psychology and sociology. I was going to go to law school. That worked out awesome for me. I tell the story. If I could have gone back in time, I'd go to when I was 18, and I would tell me, you're not going to law school, change your major. And then I'd go back to 24, and I would tell me, you don't know anything, stop acting like you know anything, and go find people that know things. And I would have done a lot more networking in my coaching and talk to more knowledgeable people in the sport. But I think this group of athletes in all sports, do your research, ask great questions, ask weird questions.
Ask the same question to 20 people.
You'll get different answers.
Then that's the way it is.
And if you get the same answer for all 20,
yeah,
that's a problem. I love when students ask me weird questions out of the blue. Greg Earhart, owner of Swim Cloud, coached at Indiana, coached at Carthage, was the men's head coach there for years, was the president of the CSEA. A shout out to Greg. But Greg, I posted in a group, ask questions that are outside the box. He had a great one, and I've stolen it, and it was, who is your number one recruit, and why is it me? And that's a question to ask a coach, man. If you're a head coach and you get asked that, and you can't figure out a way to say why that is your number one recruit, you just lost a recruit. You better be ready to be, because we're all programmed for the same answers. How many yards do you do? What's your schedule like? Do you guys go on a training trip? We're all pre-programmed. It's a soundboard. My sons used to joke all the time, coaches should just have a soundboard of answers to press, so that way it was automatic for their recruits. But if we make them, if recruits who are listening at 28s, 27s, 29s, make the coach you're talking to think about their answer. If you can't do that, then you're just going to get the same generic answer. And I to the coaches listening, especially club coaches, get more involved in the process. Okay? Get more involved. And for the college coaches, talk to the club coaches. The number of coaches, I was on a pool deck this weekend, the number of club coaches who told me they don't hear from college coaches anymore or about vetting their kids, they feel disconnected in the process. College coaches, send an email. We were talking about doing a Google form to have coaches fill out so they could do it on their form, which would be easier than responding to an email. Whatever, but get more involved in the process. Marshall Goldman, a coaching contemporary of yours in the Southeastern LSC when he was at TNAC. He made his seniors send 25 emails to teams, whether they were interested or not. He made his seniors do it, and he had to. They had to blind. I think they had to blind copy him on every single one. Which, Marshall, if you're listening, bless you that you had all those emails go out and you had to deal with it to make sure that they stayed on top of it. I think because of that, I ended up with a few TNAC kids because Marshall stayed on them. I think he was incredibly involved in that process, and that's awesome. He found a home for his kids. Yep. And it didn't matter whether it was Power 4 D1 at UT or it was NAIA at the University of the Cumberlands. He found his kids a home. I think club coaches should be more involved in the process. I think college coaches, we should be more vigilant in finding out information about the recruits. We're getting ready to send out our emails to our 27 club coaches to find out. And most of them are going to give glowing because they don't want to give bad references. But those are the emails where you find out, I know you're asking about Janie Smith. Janie's got her heart set on such and such university. But let me tell you about her teammate.
Right.
You're going to get referrals, and you're going to build those relationships. So maybe you don't get Janie Smith in the class of 27, but Elizabeth Jones in the class of 28, you just built it. You built a link, and I think that is incredibly important going forward for our sports in general. And from recruiting for the athletes, if your club coaches are getting involved, they're going to see through it. Because trust me, I've had my fair share of when I was a club coach. I had my fair share of college coaches contacting me about my athletes, and our senior coach would get it all the time. The coaching community is a small one. We know where we're sending our athletes, and you find out if you've got a reputation or not. Because I've had a few athletes that in my time, even when I was at Cumberland's, that they were club in the area. One of which, Big 12 school. One of my swimmers, her younger sister, was looking at it. I would have loved to have had her, but I knew she was going to D1. She was that good. She said, "What do you know about this school?" And I'm not going to name names. I said, "I know the coach personally. I think he just got the job there. He was at another school. He built that program. He's a phenomenal coach. He's an athlete's coach. Your sister, knowing her personality, is going to thrive there." That's ultimately where she signed, or she's committed to. She hasn't officially signed yet, but we talk, and we're gonna help you in the right direction. And I think between the two of us, we've covered the entire country back and forth. Because if we don't know somebody, we sure as heck are going to know somebody who knows somebody. So, yep. But right now, recruiting is such a wild time. Obviously, we'll talk another time about the 5-for-5 rule, the new NCAA rule with eligibility. We'll save that for another show. But I think right now, for the swimmers who are listening out there, do your research. For the coaches that are involved, club coaches and high school coaches, I hate to dismiss them. I want them in part of the process as well. Be involved. Work with your athletes. Talk with them about what their thoughts are. And then for the college coaches out there, do your research. Find out as much as you can about the athletes that you're recruiting, because you don't want to be caught in a situation where you have buyer's remorse.
Yeah.
And that's my thoughts there.
Well, that's some good advice on the ever-changing world of collegiate athlete recruiting. Never ending, never not changing. I think it's time we've got to about wrap it up.
Yeah, for sure.
As we, what's your tagline they use? Like
they're kicking us out of the warm down pool. For Dan Flack, this is Eric Skelly. We promise we will try to do this more consistently now that I have moved to Chicago and I have my new studio. So
yeah, we've got some good guests lined up.
Absolutely. Some great names coming out there. Shout out to everybody who's already been following and supporting us. Follow us on Instagram at The Warm Down Pool and here on YouTube and on Spotify. Have a good one, brother.
Sounds great. See you, everybody.